Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Cheers.
We are here to talk all about the number one thing that will propel your mediumship forward. Last week, we talked all about the topic of
Mindset, the power of your
mindset.
mindset, and how the way that you see your world is how your world shows up.
So, if you missed that episode, you want to go back and definitely check that out after this one. But we're excited to talk about this one because this is something that we fully believe in, has shown a huge impact with clients and people that do the things that we're going to talk about.
Exactly. And we apply it ourselves. So that's the most powerful thing. We realize once we started to apply this into our life over and over again on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, like we implemented a discipline around this, our whole business, our whole life changed, really. And that's the power of this. So what happens if you don't apply this into your life? This thing that we're going to be talking about soon.
It takes a lot longer to grow and expand. I think we've done it both ways, with and without. And what I've recognized, even with people coming to us after they have not implemented what we're going to talk about, and I want you to take a guess in the comments. What do you think we're going to say? Um, After they had it without and then they came to the program and received it, they're like, wow, this is a world of difference, because I've been taking 10 years, 20 years trying to expand so much of my work and even my life, and feeling like I'm seen and heard, and I couldn't get it the same way if I didn't go through this process.
So you bend time with this process. And another thing that happens too is if you don't do this process and you don't apply it into your life, you start to plateau. You start to question yourself at times, because that's part of the human mind anyways. It'll come
Mm-hmm.
up and be like, wait, who are you to do this, and all of these different things. And that human part of yourself starts to take a hold, and you'll start to notice like your mediumship skills declining. You'll start to notice your business declining. You'll start to notice you're not as fulfilled. So it's like, what's the point of living? The point of living is to enjoy your life. So you can be doing all of these beautiful things, giving readings, building a business, increasing your mediumship skills. But if you don't have that fulfillment, then it's like, what's the point? So that's what we notice. We notice that as you start to apply this thing we're going to talk about, you start to expand your vision wider and wider and wider. You start to get that bird's eye view. So that way you're not lost in the moment, right? Lost in the little petty things that happen along the way, especially if you're working your this as a business. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many internal factors that come up, external factors that people can get lost in for days, weeks, months, sometimes years. So you're when you apply this thing, you're avoiding a lot of pain that is unnecessary, really.
Oh, yeah. And then people, what we found is a lot of people are getting confused about, what is my mission? Is this truly my mission? Is this really what I want to do? Before they go through this process, because they're overthinking things. So that's one thing that we recognized is, if you start to get in your head and you're overthinking, there's definitely something missing and something to implement. Like there has to be a change that takes place. When you're in your head, you're not focused on true alignment. You're focused on overthinking, analyzing, the human mind that comes into play, which is very common in any mission that you're doing, whether it was mediumship or if you're starting a new skill, like a new sport. This is something that's very common that can happen if you're not doing it in the way that could propel you forward, that we're going to talk about.
Yes. And if you go back thousands of years when we were, humans were in tribes, like if you lost your tribe and you
Mm-hmm.
were alone, you start to go in survival mode, literally.
True.
You start to, wonder like, how am I going to find food? What if I get injured? What if? And like you said, you start to go in that human mind,
Mm-hmm.
and your chances for survival back then was very low if you were by yourself. So if you think about it, this is deeply rooted in the human psyche to find your tribe. And when you find your tribe, and what we're talking about here is like you're wanting to increase your mediumship
Yeah.
skills, you're wanting to master them no matter what level you're on. Whether you've been doing this, 30 years, or if you've been doing it, you're just starting out, it's like you're wanting to continuously increase because it's infinite human potential. So the way that you do that is not by yourself, because then if you're by yourself, you notice those of you out there that try to do this alone, you start to go in survival mode because that deeply rooted thing that's in the human psyche to where it's like we need to find our tribe so we
Mm-hmm.
can recognize these patterns that are playing. And the only people that are going to show you the patterns of mediumship are other mediums that are out there in the trenches doing it. And when you start to surround yourself with other mediums that are actually doing the thing, just hearing them speak, you're like, it becomes a mirror to you to where you're like, oh, I thought I was the only one. Oh,
Right.
I recognize these patterns.
And hearing other people's stories and then being able to share the story out loud yourself, it relieves some pressure knowing that, oh my gosh, I can actually share this. I'm not keeping this to myself. Because I think the worst thing when you're going through changes and trying to figure things out and figure out, is this my mission? Like, am I supposed to be doing this work? A lot of the times when we get in our head and we get stuck, we're slowing ourselves down by that self talk and really not taking enough action. So when we're able to speak it out or hear other people share, I went through that stage too. Like there's beginning stages. You start to notice, like you said, the patterns. The patterns of beginner mediums are looking for answers sometimes outside of themselves, or they want to hear it from other people like, you're great, you're doing a good job. But when you hear other people say, I went through that too, all I have to hear is other people are going through it. And I just need to stay centered. I need to be in a supportive environment, continue to practice, and continue to vocalize what is happening in my human mind. We've noticed such a huge difference. I'm just thinking of one particular student that came to us, and she somehow was doing a search online and she ended up joining Mediumship Mastery Circle. And she's been doing mediumship alone for a while and really didn't have a network of people. And now she's able to practice and then see, oh, what I'm doing with this practice, I could excel even more in this area because I'm seeing how other mediums are doing it. And then she's bringing things to the table too. It's very abnormal for her to be in a group at the very beginning. And now she's more comfortable and she's starting to realize the benefits of actually being with other people. And she's not doing it alone.
Exactly. And other people that are your part of your tribe, right? It's so many times, mediums or coaches out there, they are introverted. They
Yeah.
are scared to join big groups of people. Like I'm one of them to where I prefer smaller groups. It gives me anxiety if I go in a room, and I'm thinking I have to connect to hundreds of people. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm the person that wants to connect with one person at a time deeply. And I noticed that when I find my tribe, or like the student you were talking about, these people that are more introverted, when they find their tribe, all of a sudden they start to bloom, they open up, they start to be more extroverted in different ways because things are resonating with them. They're like, wait, this person is very similar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because many of these psychic mediums, they are, we could call them outcasts, we could call them outliers. Like they're different than most of the people that are in their corner. Like if you just go back 100 years too, mediums were getting killed for doing
Mm-hmm.
this work. So that's another part that's in that human psyche that could really, really stop you from taking action. You might not even know that that's what's happening on the deeper level. You might say, "Oh, it's because maybe I'm not meant to be a medium, or maybe I just can only be this good." And we're here to tell you that it's infinite potential.
Yeah.
Like it's literally, we've watched it. We've overcome our plateaus by being in groups of people, like-minded people. We've watched our clients to where they thought, "Oh, I suck at names, or I suck at feeling," and then they start to turn that into one of their strengths from being around other people that were good at names or that were good at feelings. Because it's that old video you showed me where the little tickers and they start to
Oh,
tick
yeah.
and they start to align with each other. It's like things are mirrors for you. So if you want to get better at names or better at any of the clairs, it's like go around other people that are already really good at that, and you will start to, you're so empathic that you will start to
It's
take
true.
in that energy. And all of a sudden, when you're with these people, it's like these names are coming quick. You're
That's what's
feeling
happening to our
on a
group right
deeper
now
level.
too. You know, in Unlucky Earner Medium, that's exactly what's been happening. You know, it started with like, oh my gosh, I can't get names. And now they're hearing each other get names and they're getting names. And I love that. And it is like those little tickers that go back and forth and you just join together. And the other thing that you mentioned about that, there was a topic about just being together and picking up on each other's habits. I think that's really important. And you start to recognize there's so much more. We're just skimming the surface by ourselves. But when we're together, there's so much more that can come from it. I think that's what I've recognized over the years. When you're in different groups and you're practicing with different people, you can hold each other accountable. You can cheer each other on. Even I'm thinking of some students that we have, we can share these stories with other students that say, well, my town is not open to mediumship. We only have 200 people in the town. We only have 5,000 people in the town. So I don't know if I'll be able to build up this mission that I have. And we always share the story of a few of our students that are in a town that's so small, that have built this beautiful mission, have helped people. People, I'm thinking of specifically one of our students that people are driving hours away to get to her in her small little town, you know, that they might not have heard of on the map, but they're coming to see her. Because when you are surrounded with other people and know that it's doable, it will happen. That belief will shine out. And I think that's really important. I think that's what it is about the groups too. If you want to go slow, you go alone. If you want to go quickly and move and expand at a rapid rate, stay consistent and go in a group.
Yeah, and then we've had other students to where they're in a city to where it's loaded with mediums, and
Right.
they're like, wait, there's already a lot of mediums in here. Maybe I have to move to another country now, or
That's another
whatever it may
thing.
be. And it's the same thing in our group. It's like that word competition could really scare people. And to me, like I played sports growing up. Really, the only people you're competing with is if you're playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like in competition could have like a negative connotation to some people. When you surround yourself with like-minded people, iron sharpens iron. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like that's what it is. It's like it's not competing to be a better medium. It's not competing to like, oh, I need to be better at this clair than that person. It's like if you're doing that, if you're thinking that way, you're out of the soul. Like the most powerful way you give a powerful mediumship reading is being pure presence, right? Getting out of that human mind. So if you're thinking that way, you're in the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
One, two, when for those of you that are like in a town full of other mediums, it's I always use the high school example. If you go into a high school and you ask each student who's your favorite teacher, yeah, there's usually one teacher that a good chunk of students are like, that's my favorite teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask everybody, you'll notice that each person has a different favorite teacher,
That's true.
right? It's all divided. Why? It's because your voice, the way you showed up with your experiences and your energy, the way you're delivering your mediumship readings will resonate with a certain group of people. And then somebody else's, it's the same way. So competition doesn't really exist in my opinion. Like we're not competing with other people with podcasts. We're not competing with other people
No.
with retreats or mentorship programs. We know if you ever get in that mindset, you're in the human mind. You're not creating from the soul level. And the only way we realize that you have the most impactful readings and you work with spirit in the most impactful way is coming from that soul space.
Right. And it's beneficial to explore all teachers too. That's one thing that we teach our students is explore. It's just like exploring books. Try to figure out you're going to be in different phases. We talked about this, different phases in mediumship. You might take a little break from classes and then you go back to it later. And that's the most beneficial thing to recognize that there's different moments in your life where you're going to be at a different space in your mediumship. I know over the years I've had different teachers. One teacher specifically, Mavis will always be my soul teacher. She is my teacher that she came into my life for a reason, without a doubt, on so many different levels. She's someone that I can say that is just someone that I just feel like so much integrity when it comes to the spirit world and everything that she taught us, her philosophy, her way of living. I think that's really important too. I noticed the way that she lived, not just by what she said, it was by observation. So you have to figure out what teacher resonates with you, but then also you're the more that you're yourself, the more you're going to bring in the right teachers too for you specifically. Same with mediumship. If clients come to me and they're getting drawn to me for a reason, there's a reason. If they're getting drawn to someone else, there's a reason for that. The more that you show up as yourself as a medium and figure that out, I think it's a process to figure it out and not hide behind the mediumship title and pretend that you're someone different that you're not. You're going to recognize your clients are going to come flying in and the right people and peers are going to come flying in too. I think that's an important piece.
So important, right? That's what we teach people in all the programs that we run is like literally finding your own creative way because everybody's an artist.
Yeah.
So it's like tap into that creativity. And another thing too is it's like when you're joining people, like-minded people, it's not only, oh, I'm going to join this program for several weeks and then I'm not going to do it for 8 months, or even I'm going to join this program for several months and then I'm just going to be on my own the rest of the year. Right? The most powerful way it works is like being connected on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And then also doing some kind of total immersion like quarterly.
I believe in that. That's what propels you forward. And I just side note, guys, we're on the internet right now. So the internet is an amazing thing. We could use the internet as a powerful, powerful tool. We can also use it in the opposite way where it's not a powerful tool and it's draining. But one thing I will say is the internet has connected us with so many different people we would have never worked with if it wasn't for the internet. I do absolutely love being in person added to that. And that's one thing. It's like actually being able to reach out and like give a hug to a person that you've been connected to on the internet for like 5 years or 10. Like we have students over 10 years, people have been coming back doing all the programs and then we meet in person and it's just so beautiful. Like I think about our student Natasha and Emily they came to an event that I had in Canada and we met up with them in person. And I'm like, these moments are so special to meet people in person, people showing up to the retreat. Like we've never met in person. We feel like we have because we've been on the internet on Zoom and then showing up and like, oh my gosh, we can hang out together for the weekend and eat together and talk and practice. And there's something about that human connection that we can't forget. Sitting behind a computer has its benefits, but I think mixing it up and being in person and on the internet is just like this added bonus and it propels everything forward.
Yeah, exactly. And then like at the retreat, it's total immersion. So you're going for literally 3-4 days straight.
Yes.
And you're with each other. And we're educators. We were both teachers, as many of you know. So we understand the power of that, the power of total immersion. We understand how the brain works and how like the most powerful way that you can transform your mind, transform your brain, transform your mediumship skills is by going total immersion for 3-4 days straight. And at certain points in time, you'll be tired, right? You'll be pushing yourself. That's when the most growth happens.
Yes.
It's just like if you're training to be an athlete. The growth doesn't happen when things are easy. The growth happens when you're in the gym, you're on your court, and you're tired, and you're like, I can't do one more rep. I can't take one more shot. I can't throw the ball one more time. And you just keep doing it. That's when you start to break through. So that's also the power of our favorite event of the year, which is our retreat, is you're able to tap into that. So you have the human connection, the human touch coming together, but you're able to tap into something that is deep in the human psyche that helps us transform our mediumship skills. Because at the end of the day, that's why we host the retreat.
Yes.
But then what happens also is people go back and their lives are transformed too. Like they're seeing their world in a different way because they loved themselves enough to give themselves those 3 or 4 days of like blocked out time tunnel vision, blocking out, all the responsibilities of their life, and the dividends come back like it's compound interest. We've had people take the retreat several times, repeat
Yeah.
attendees
We
pretty
always
much
have every year.
every single year. And so this will be our eighth one coming up. And we have people from the first, second, and third ones that are still telling us, oh my God, that retreat
Yeah.
transformed everything in my life. So it's lasting. And that's what we love about it too. Like our online programs, very powerful,
Yes.
transformative, but it's like once you go together and it's a
And you meet
total
in
immersion
person.
and you
Yeah.
meet in person.
And it feels like a family connection. It's funny because I think a lot of the big fear that people have is like, oh my gosh, I don't know anyone and I'm showing up and I'm traveling to this house. And, and if you're an introvert or you're an empath, then it's kind of scary to go. It's like you feel nervous inside, and that's excitement and nerves at the same time. That's a good thing. That's growth. Um, but they're like, well, what if I don't know anyone? Like there's all different groups of people from
It's
over
like
the years.
wonderful. That's amazing.
And it's an amazing thing because you leave and you're like, how the heck did this happen? Where I feel so connected to these people. And we have a filtering system. So we're very specific about the people that come to the retreat. They have to be a student or a member of the community. If you're not a member or you're not a student, then we would have an interview process to make sure it's a good fit. It's a very small group. It's only 10 people allowed at this retreat. And I think that's what makes it magical too, because it's so intimate. Um, but I think the big thing is the other piece to this, when you said that we're educators and, we taught in the classroom, the biggest thing that I feel is so important about the retreat and the spaces that we're doing things in is the energy of the learning environment. Like we can actually choose, instead of being the public school, we can choose. We want to be by ocean water. We want to be in nature learning. We want to be using our senses with food and use all the manipulatives that we need and the little objects that we need to use to make sure this learning environment is long lasting and it sticks with the mediums. That's why I feel like it's so transformational too, because of all those little pieces. When you're in a learning environment that isn't fluorescent lights, we were just having this conversation, it feels a lot different. You're not under the fluorescent lights. You're not in a
boxed in area,
boxed
real
in
small,
area. Like you're in an open space to do practice.
with like, I don't even know what, 50 feet ceilings.
Yeah, I
or
don't even know how
like
tall it
30,
is.
40, 50, like
A
so
lot of
much space and
space.
energy. And we understand like with people who are empathic, it's like when you're in small little spaces, you feel like your
Yeah.
creativity starts to diminish, your skills starts to diminish.
And that house fits 26 people. We only have 10 of the students. And that's what it is.
And then
So
13 total people,
yeah.
right?
So there's so many layers that are behind the scenes and the energy that's put behind it. And that's why people keep repeating. And I think finding spaces with communities is the biggest thing that you can do for your growth. The biggest thing. Whether you're a medium, you're a healer, or maybe you're just listening to this episode and you happen to come across it and you're not a medium or healer. If you're doing anything in your field, go with the people that are like-minded, grow with them. You'll recognize you will be successful very fast. And when I say success, I mean fulfillment in all ways, fulfillment, more clients, just true joy, knowing that you're heard and seen with other people. So we've talked a lot about a lot of different things today. I want you to think about, how can you put yourself in communities? What are you doing each year? Do you have something planned that's going to help propel you forward for your mediumship? What are you implementing that's going to propel you forward at a very fast rate in alignment for you, so that you don't just start and put on the gas and then stop and put on the brake and do it all over again? It's not a fun experience. It takes a lot longer to get to where you want to
You
go.
get whiplash.
True. That is true. Okay, guys. Well, we will see you on the next episode. Have a beautiful day. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.